Hi, my name is Dr. Stephen Simpson and I'm a mind coach. So thank you for finding my channel. This post has taken me much longer to prepare than normal because we are living in truly extraordinary times at the moment. When I started putting a few thoughts together, this virus epidemic seemed less serious than it does now. Since then, millions of people have been affected in one way or another, through illness, loss of jobs, shortage of food and other essentials, and in many cases, in fact, extreme stress. And I wish I could change this, but I can't. Any suggestions I make seem trivial in this wider context. I considered not posting this at all, but went ahead because I feel, rightly or wrongly, that if one person can be helped even a little bit, it will have been more than worthwhile. And the title of this post is Fear versus Hope. The death of free will not surprise readers of my latest book, The Psychotic Revolution. So when I repeat my controversial statement that most, if not all, of our thoughts originate from our reptile brain. This is the deepest part of our brain and, in evolutionary terms, the oldest by a very long way indeed. Therefore, this raises considerable questions about the function and importance of the higher centers of our brain with regard to the way we view life. Perhaps one of these functions is to rationalize and sanitize some of these deeper and very often darker thoughts that surface from our reptile brain and then develop a life of their own. It certainly blows a huge hole in the notion that we have a high degree of control over the origin of our thoughts and resultant actions. So, step back and take a wider view of natural laws. The greatest miracle of the universe is the perfect balance that exists in all life forms and indeed in inert objects too. This balance in our biological processes is sometimes referred to in Eastern cultures as Yin and Yang. A question that's puzzled me for a long time concerns this balance in our mind, because everywhere I look, especially now, I see huge fear, and I know that I'm not alone. At the moment, the overarching news story, as I mentioned, is the coronavirus influenza outbreak. And history tells us that sooner or later this outbreak will die down, but we can be sure that some other fear will replace it. So if fear is the yin, then its natural antidote of yang just might be hope, but I somehow doubt this because the universal balance between fear and hope is very lopsided. So this raises the big question: what emotion other than hope is strong enough to gift us resilience in this titanic struggle for the control of our thoughts? Let's hold this question for the moment. My life and work has been built around hope as its solid foundation, and whilst I've had some success, quite a lot of success with this approach, there's no question that I've chosen a very difficult message to sell. And in the past, I paid a heavy price for this, more ways than one, because the truth is that fear is a lot easier to sell than hope, and nobody knows this better than the news editors and the politicians. Why are we so emotionally immune suppressed that we have so little defense against the pandemic infection of fear? Why are we so blind to the hope that's always been with us and always will be? These are tough, maybe impossible questions to answer. When I published The Psychotic Revolution, I set up a closed Facebook page for this book using the same title as a forum for debate for readers of my book, and you're welcome to join, of course. The only qualification for membership is that you have an open-minded passion to understand why we make so many poor decisions and how we might elevate our thinking to a higher level. That's hope, isn't it? When I was trying to put some ideas on paper for this post with considerable difficulty, as I mentioned, a thought struck me from out of the blue. This thought prompted me to do something that I've never done before, despite being the author of more than 20 books and numerous articles, blogs, and more than 200 videos on YouTube. You're just watching one of them. This thought was hardly revolutionary. I decided to ask the members of my group what they thought about fear and hope. I had two big surprises. Firstly, the speed of their responses was almost immediate. Secondly, the overwhelming balance of opinion concerned fear rather than hope. And here are just a few massively abbreviated examples of the elegance of their insights. Does anyone else sense correlation between the increased ability to have foods and goods delivered to your home to the increase in becoming more fearful and isolated? Well, that's a great question, and loneliness certainly could be part of the problem. Here's another. The more people have in money, possessions, etc., the more they feel they have to lose, and so they get fearful. This is an example that, as we all know, money does not necessarily buy happiness, and it's not a million miles away from one of the core tenets of Buddhism. Another comment. So much time is wasted on fearing being judged, just looking at Instagram. Why do people want to elicit envy? It causes such hopelessness in some people. Well, this is a great example of another example of demonstrating that ego is no amigo. Here's another one. For me, fear is overwhelming. It affects everything we do. We tell ourselves why we can't do this or that. Fear stops me reaching my highest potential. Through my work with manifestation and the law of attraction, I can actually see that I'm the one preventing me moving forward. Great comment, and another lucid example of damage wrought by ego, and why elite performers post personal bests when they let go and they get out of their own way. I work with elite performers, and I've got countless examples that underline the central theme of all of these great comments. It's taken me some time to digest these comments and to process my own thoughts, and I've reached an uncomfortable conclusion, both on a universal as well as a personal level. This is, I'm wasting a lot of time trying to promote hope as a vaccination against fear. Whilst it can help for sure, it's no more than a stick-in-plaster solution. My clients and myself and all of us, we need something much more potent. Some of the Facebook comments have pointed me in a different direction, towards possible alternative strategies. I've gone back to history. I've reread the chapter on fear in the Psychotic Revolution because I can't remember what I wrote. And this extract resonated with me. Fear is not a problem. The problem is the way we think about fear. And this is why so many of us are so confused. This is about as far as I can go for the moment. In the next post, I'm going to share with you some very powerful examples that can turn down the volume of fear in our thoughts, and how we can turn up the volume of something which will be far more helpful. I will also share with you why there's a big difference between fear and anxiety, and why it is so helpful to recognize this distinction. So stay tuned and I'll get cracking on it. More importantly, stay well.